Hello, I'm Doug Smith, and welcome to another edition of Portsmouth This Week. Today is 19 July 2013. My guest today is John Klimm, our town administrator, and also the real host of the show. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
We want to talk about a lot of things. You've had a very busy year. The budget year just concluded, and I wonder if you could summarize some of the major issues and changes included in the FY2014 budget.
Well, like many of the towns in Rhode Island, this was another tough year budgetarily, and the council early on in the year made it very clear that they set parameters and they wanted to make sure that we live within our means and set priorities, and so we tried to do that. We went through the entire budgetary process, held public hearings or whatever, and there are some new initiatives that I think are really significant. First and foremost, we've talked about this many times on this program, but we have finally fully funded the long-range roads program, so that now, as long as it isn't changed, the amount of money that's needed to fully fund the roads program every year is in the base of the budget. So no additional money will need to be appropriated. And I really think that just in our first year, through the wonderful work of Dave Keogh and his staff, and all the folks that are working to improve our roads, that residents have regularly commented that they're already seeing changes and improvements or whatever. The problem is that the number of our network has been so neglected that it really is going to take a number of years before you see noticeable changes on a large number of roads in town. But the council committed itself to the town's infrastructure, and even though tough choices had to be made, I really applaud Council President Stephanie and every member of the council that while they had a full plate of requests or whatever, said, you know, we can't continue to neglect our infrastructure, and we're going to bite the bullet and make a tough decision. And so I really appreciate and applaud them for that. They were able to give some additional money to our senior center, a service that provides a lot of our citizens some needed services over our senior center. And we were also, for the first time in many years, able, through the leadership of the council, we were able to increase the appropriation to our public library. You know, I can't say enough about the service that they provide to our community and the modest budget that they have to do that with every single year. So we really are blessed with a fine facility there with great people. And it's been so many years since there's been an increase or whatever. They did come and ask for additional consideration. And every councilor to a person said, you know, this is the year that we've got to be able to do that. One of the areas of concentration this coming year, will be on zoning enforcement. As more and more people move into town, the number of complaints increase. And so the council very appropriately has addressed that in two fronts. First of all, for the first time, Portsmouth will be getting, with one more vote of the council, a municipal court. And that's critically important because when George Medeiros, our building inspector, has made complaints in the past, it's been many months before it ever reached a court. And it's a very busy court down in Newport that have higher priorities. And so we have continually gotten a message from the judge and other court officials that these issues, these zoning type infractions, aren't a high priority when they're dealing with a lot more serious issues and whatever. And so we've known for some time that we need to join other towns that have
and deal with them locally,
and deal with them swiftly and locally. And so the council adopted a two-pronged approach. One was to adopt a municipal court, and the second is to put in place a part-time zoning enforcement officer. So I think that when we get that up and running, which will be in the next 6 months, I think you'll really start to see a difference in terms of our effectiveness in terms of dealing with those issues. It isn't as though we're getting many complaints every day, but they're important, and if these are neighborhood types issues that are very important to the people whose rights are being infringed. Sure. And so we take that seriously, and so I applaud the efforts of the town council to deal with that. In a major shift, the town council has committed itself to assisting citizens that are dealing with outdated septic systems or cesspools. with the creation of a $2 million loan program for our citizens. I was told recently that we're the only community in Rhode Island that really put that type of a commitment of local funds. We will as well apply for state funding, which is a state program, to supplement our program, but the council didn't just talk about the issue, they actually figure out a way to help our citizens. And so they not only did that, but they have provided the funding for a full-time wastewater manager that will work with hundreds of our citizens that are dealing with this issue to put a program together or whatever. So I think that the council has done all that they can do, really, to demonstrate to the state, DEM, that we're doing everything possible to take the issue of failed cesspools and septic systems seriously, and we have a progressive program moving forward to deal with that. The other major issue in the budget was funding for the demolition of the Elmhurst School. And the council did make a decision to provide the funding so that we can make a decision on that demolition and move forward. And so, all in all, I think it was a good year. All of this being done in terms of the normal funding for our police, fire, our school department, and what have you, keeping the budgetary increase a little over 2%, so that they had set the parameters and they were able to do that. And additionally, they were able to introduce these new initiatives. So I think the taxpayers and the residents of Portsmouth were well served by the actions of the town council.
Yeah, it seems like the relationship between the town council and the school committee has really improved over the last 6-8 months.
I've never seen a community with a better relationship. And I mean, in terms of issues that other communities are facing, the reality is that we have a school committee that's producing a good product in terms of the quality of education. They are financially sound in terms of surplus, and they have a terrific relationship between the school committee, as you say, and the town council. That's rare. You don't see that. And you don't see that necessarily in communities right around us, where there were continual fights and power struggles or whatever. Our school committee and our town council have made it very clear that they're not always going to agree, but they're going to act professionally and understand that we're all on the same team. We're much more seriously now talking about the possibility of consolidating some non-education functions, which I've been advocating since I got here. The school administration is right across the street from Town Hall. There's no reason why we can't seriously consider consolidation of finance functions, IT functions, human resource functions, saving money so that money can be rechanneled from those areas to the classroom, which is where the resources should go.
Well, I think that says a lot about the leadership of both the council and the school committee.
I agree.
And I applaud all these folks who are doing what they're doing. The other thing is, just from the outside looking in, and as a citizen, it seemed like the budget process was a lot less contentious than it usually is.
It really was, and I think that that's, once again, a commitment of the council. We're continually working on that. Councillor Molly McGee has stepped forward, and she'll be undertaking an initiative to even more impressively impacting the effectiveness and efficiency of that process. But you're right, it hasn't been. We have taken the position that we need to work together, and I think that is demonstrated in a process where there aren't, hand grenades being thrown at each other. We're trying to work out in a common way our problems to find solutions. Yeah,
as a citizen, I'd much rather see that than a lot of rancor in the town council meeting, so I appreciate that too. We've seen very recently, the last couple of days, the issue about Detroit going bankrupt. And I know a big part of that problem across the country has to do with pension plans and other things. I know you've recently concluded negotiations with the fire union, and I wonder if you can discuss what some of the major changes might be on that.
The major change is that when we, as you know, over the last year and a half or so, we have had in Portsmouth a pension commission that has very comprehensively studied the issue of our unfunded pension liability, coming forward with a plan to address that unfunded liability. One of the unions over across the way at the schools have already addressed the long-term interest. But I have to say that when I sat down It just happened to be all of the unions' contracts are up, but we started with the firefighters. And I have to say that their position on all of this was truly remarkable, where they weren't denying the fact that there was a problem, or they weren't trying to shift the burden or responsibility to the taxpayers or to the previous administrations in Town Hall. They understand there was a problem, and they came to the table as a partner to try to solve the issue. And in a very remarkable way, we were able to work through some very contentious issues. Howie, Ty, and the folks that are on the negotiating team for the union really stepped up to the plate, and we were able to put a plan together that adopts all of the recommendations of the Pension Commission, and additionally commits to putting new employees in a 401k system as opposed to a defined benefit plan. It's really remarkable and I think very unique in the entire state of Rhode Island, and maybe even in New England, that we're taking a different approach in addressing the pension. If you look at some of our neighbors around the state, they're tweaking the system, they're trying to put a Band-Aid on or whatever, but they're not really solving the problem. And I cannot say enough for the two unions that we have concluded negotiations with, the firefighters and our town hall workers, our dedicated town hall workers as well. The PMEA have done the very same thing. They've come to the table understanding that we had a problem, and they agreed with some changes that are in the long-term best interest of the community. We still are in the process of negotiating with our DPW and our police unions, but it's a very good start, I think, and I give all of the credit to our employees for in a very unique way. I mean, I know that in talking to managers from around the state and elsewhere, it's rare that you'll have an employee union that will do what our unions have done, and I think it's testimony to the character and the dedication and commitment of our employees to our citizens.
Yeah, it's nice to hear Portsmouth singled out for some good reasons for a change. I think that's great. Another topic that's come up is Prudence Island. I know you and the council are meeting with, having a meeting out at Prudence Island tomorrow, Saturday. What are the key issues here, and how do you think they look for resolution?
Well, first of all, there was a long-held tradition where at least one time a year the town council would actually hold a council meeting on Prudence Island. It was usually in the summer, and that had kind of gone by the wayside for a number of years. And Councilor Seveny and Keith Hamilton, Councilor Hamilton, and others felt very strongly that that was a tradition that needed to be restored. And so on Saturday we will be traveling to the island. It's a regular council meeting, so there's a variety of items on the agenda, but there's certainly the council wanted to make time available to talk about any issue that Prudence Island residents wish to discuss, and they'll allow that forum to take place. One issue that is in the forefront is the ongoing issue of the Prudence Island Ferry. Some time ago, the present operator of the ferry notified us about a year ago now that at some time in the near future he would be thinking about retiring or moving on. But at that time we were given a 3 to 5 year time span. That changed with notification in April that decision was made that as of December 1st of this year he was going to terminate his service, which obviously put us in almost a crisis situation.
Find somebody quickly.
We went over to Prudence Island on numerous occasions, met with the community and also with the Prudence Island Planning Commission and their ferry subcommittee, and it was deemed appropriate to kind of put out a request to find out if there were any other interested parties out there. And we did that, and the deadline was passed last week, and lo and behold, 4 independent entities came forward saying, you know, this is something we might be interested in. In the interim, we have had kind of indirect communication that maybe the existing operator may have changed his mind and be willing to stay or whatever. The truth is that we're in a very much better position today, though, because we have now 5 entities that are expressing interest in operating the site, the operation. The other issue is that the present operator sold the property in Bristol, and he has control over that for another 9 months or so, But we obviously were very concerned, because when we went over to talk to the residents of Prudence Island, we asked them, would you like, in a perfect world, would you like the landing point to be in Portsmouth, since they're part of the town of Portsmouth? And actually, they said no, because the downtown Bristol area works well for them. They can take the boat over. They don't even need a car. They can walk up to the shops and whatever and take care of their needs. That's what they're used to, and they asked us to try to continue to do that. So much to the credit of Tony Texera, the town administrator in Bristol, and the town planner, we've had ongoing negotiations about having a long-term relationship with them as well. So it's a very contentious issue, but it's a very important issue. Sure. Because there's nothing that I can think of that impacts the quality of life of our Prudence Island residents more than that ferry.
Absolutely, and there already is some ferry infrastructure over there on that site.
Yes.
So that would also be another reason that it makes sense to do that. And unfortunately, I have to agree, we just don't have a downtown like Bristol does. Bristol's got a beautiful downtown area. And I had thought about that a lot, about potential places in Portsmouth where you could do this, and it's too hard almost to try to think about that.
When you think about the future of the Melville area, I mean, there are possibilities there, but you know, there are citizens, and they're the ones that are most impacted. So we went over there one day, and there had to have been 150 or more citizens there.
No, I'm sure they know.
And they clearly said, I don't think one resident came forward saying they wanted a Portsmouth location at this site, that they really like the Bristol location. So
okay, well, that's great that we're in a good position then to negotiate some of these things. I'm sure that'll work out well. It's encouraging, as you say, that we have 5 companies now involved in this thing. You know, we have no lack of issues in town, as you know, and can you give me your perspective on the toll issue, the Sakana River Bridge toll issue? I mean, what do you think? Where do you think this is going to go?
Well, first of all, I have to say, as a former legislator in another state, I have had an opportunity to watch our legislative delegation. And I have to tell you that this isn't a public Republican comment or a Democratic comment. Taking the entire delegation, I know how hard they worked on our behalf and how difficult this issue was in terms of the twists and turns and how it actually came out, at least in the first chapter. We're going now into the second chapter or whatever. So I have to say, you know, a debt of gratitude and thanks for our senators and representatives who really stepped up to the plate in a major way. You know, everyone from the most senior member of the delegation to someone like Dennis Canario, who's a freshman, his comments on the floor of the House were as passionate and as effective as I've ever seen. And he should feel very good about it. And the citizens should feel very good that those are the folks that are representing us. Obviously, it's a contentious issue, because what they really need to do is to come to grips with the fact that this is a statewide issue, that there's no funding for infrastructure. They need to do what we've done now with our roads, and they need to bite the bullet and deal with the issue. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's been easier in the past to shove it off to us as a small minority in the state, and with a plan of making us shoulder the burden. It never passed the fairness issue, no matter where you're from. And what was most remarkable was not only the testimony of our own legislators, there was a group of legislators from all over the state that had no dog in this race, but they understood that this was fundamentally an issue of fairness. I wish I knew their names, and I wish I knew some of them, because I was so impressed at their passion about the issue of fairness. And I think that if that message took hold, which I hope it does, then I'm hopeful that that this committee will actually do its job and take that burden off of the backs of our citizens and our businesses. Because the truth is that, I mean, no one can objectively suggest that that's not going to have a crippling impact on, on all of us.
No question. And I'm encouraged that both Chris Adiano and Jay Edwards, I believe, are on that committee. So,
yes.
So we have good representation there speaking for us here in town.
And Senator DePalma, who's been a terrific advocate as well.
Yeah. Another big issue that's kind of hanging over our head is the wind turbine. And what can you tell us about that? What's the latest status, and what do you think the possibilities are?
Well, I think I said half-jokingly the other day that there are no simple issues in Portsmouth. That's what I found, having been here for a year. And this issue is one of those very complex issues that we're dealing with. We have now gone out for the 3rd time to look for an interested party, and the deadline, as we tape today, is actually today, So when this is heard, we'll already know how many bids we got, and we'll be in the process of evaluating them. We have reason to believe that we'll see at least one, if not more, bids. We're hoping that they pass muster and that we can move forward. But you know, we've knocked on that door 3 times now, and we're going to get to a point where there are no other options. So I'm very hopeful that we will receive thoughtful proposals that will get us moving forward again on that whole issue.
Yeah, I think the key is moving forward, because every time people drive by and see our wind turbine still and the one over the Abbey turning, it's just kind of aggravating. Another thing that you brought into town, which I think is a great idea, is the idea of an annual report, a bound annual report that people can see, can be archived, people can go back and look and see what happened. You want to discuss that and what your idea is?
Yeah, I come from a state where there's actually a state law requiring every community to produce an annual report. And what a wonderful tool that is, where you can actually go into your town archives and pull a report from 1732 and look at life, because it's a reflection of life in terms of what they were spending, in terms of budgeting, what their issues were of the time. And so it was unfortunate to learn that really isn't a standard practice here in Rhode Island. But I think it's so appropriate that in our 375th year, in the year of our 375th anniversary, that we start this tradition. Because before you know it, it'll be 50 or 100 years down the line, and people will be looking back to 2013 to seeing what life is. And so the first challenge is that everyone has a different opinion about what an annual report is. You can see in states that have mandates for them, they have become kind of common, where after time many of the communities have the same type of annual report.
Same format.
Same format. We have to design our own. And even within the council, there's a variety of opinion about what the annual report should look like. So Bob Hamilton, a local resident that has done so much on so many things, has his career experience in printing and whatever, and I'm so thankful that he's able to assist us in providing his expertise and his guidance as we put this together. And I definitely want to have a 375th flair. I think that's very clear, that this will really signify that this is a very special year that we're going through as we speak. But I'm sure that it's that appropriateness is in the eye of the beholder, so I'm asking citizens that as they see the first annual report, that they take them a moment, and if they think something's missing or would like to have seen something else, that they let us know, because it's the type of thing where you can continually improve it as we go along.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great idea. I look forward to seeing the Volume 1. You know, you joined us, a group of us, on our trip to Portsmouth, England in May. And one, I want to ask you, I'm sure you did enjoy your trip, because you looked like you were enjoying it. Did you learn anything over there that we might be able to use here in terms of just political things or whatever?
I actually did. I mean, it was a great opportunity as a town manager to be able to talk to officials, local officials, to see what their issues are, and there were some suggestions. Now, of course, Portsmouth, England is much larger than Portsmouth, Rhode Island. They have a population of about 250,000 people. So it's a big city. And so, but we were able to watch the operations of the council, which were very interesting. We looked at things like how they communicate with their citizens. I have to say, I come back from England with a much greater appreciation for the pomp and circumstance and the sense of tradition and history.
Ceremony.
The ceremony, that's so very important. We were, as you know, we were blessed to be able to attend the swearing in of the Lord Mayor, which was a very important event over in Portsmouth, England. And so, in a nutshell, I know I joined the entire delegation and really being overwhelmed by the hospitality that was shown to us by the officials, which I'm sure we're going to reciprocate in a few weeks, but also learned a lot about the operations of their government to a point where I am looking forward to returning sometime in the near future to I was so impressed.
Yeah.
And so I know that I know, for example, Councilor Liz Pedro was with us, and I know that she had quite an opportunity to talk to a variety of councilors over. They have 42 councilors, a much larger council, but I know she spent a lot of time talking to folks, and she learned as much as all of us from that experience. The other thing is that we're seriously talking about some type of twinning opportunity so that there's an ongoing relationship, and I think that's really important for not only them but for us as well. It was a very special moment. My only regret is that our delegation was only 7 strong, because it was such a special opportunity. And I know that every one of the Portsmouth 7 that had an opportunity to go over there will remember for their entire life how special of an opportunity. You know, we were representing the citizens and taxpayers, although all of us paid for this all of ourselves. We were representing our citizens, and that was it was really an honor for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, I have to agree, and as you say, the hospitality was overwhelming, and we have a big burden to take up when they show up here. The 3 folks that are coming, the Lord Mayor, the Lady Mayoress, and Councilor Lee Mason. I think people should know, our audience should know that you've been a member of our 375th Steering Committee from the beginning and have been directly involved in a lot of our planning and things. How do you think it's going, the 375th anniversary?
Well, as an outsider or as a newcomer, when we began to talk about the fact that 2013 was a special year, I wasn't sure whether we'd have, maybe one big event and call it a day or whatever. I just can't express significantly enough how I feel about what has gone on with the dozens and dozens of events and the volunteers and this will have become an incredible year in the town of Portsmouth. And I know, Doug, as the head of the steering committee, you and Gary and Rich Delipsky and Bob Hamilton and all the other folks that are on there, the citizens of our town owe you a debt of gratitude, because I know how much time you're spending on this, and it's been a remarkable year, far surpassing anything that as an outsider and a newcomer that I had come to expect.
John, we're out of time already. I just want to say that with your help, we were able to get a new sign up at Founder's Brook, and I hope people will stop by and take a look at the stone benches that have been donated to the town. Everybody should stop by Founder's Brook, which is where our founders actually came and met. I'm hoping we'll see you at some of these events coming up. Particularly, I know you'll be there when we welcome the Lord Mayor and the rest of the mayors from Virginia and New Hampshire. That's about it from me, Doug Smith. I'll see you in the next episode of Portsmouth This Week. Thank you.
The British are coming, the British are coming. The great Portsmouth 375th Anniversary Grand Celebration will be around Labor Day weekend, so plan to avoid the traffic and stay home in Portsmouth to join in the fun. Honored guests will be the Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, England, and the mayors of Portsmouth, New Hampshire and Virginia, arriving for a reception at Portsmouth's Glen Manor House on Thursday, August 29th. The public is invited, but tickets will be limited. A wine tasting reception is on the schedule for Friday afternoon at Greenvale Vineyards, where guests can sample the special release of Portsmouth 375th label wine, commissioned by the vineyard especially for our celebration year. Saturday brings the 375th Grand Parade in the morning and the U.S. Polo team going up against the United Kingdom at the Glen International Polo Grounds in the afternoon. Sunday is the 375th Portsmouth Family Picnic at Portsmouth's Glen Park. For more information, go to portsmouthri375.com.